Our lesson today is solving rational equations. Instead of having expressions with no equal sign, we will have an equal sign and we are solving for x. We're going to have two types today, mostly focusing on the second type. But here's the first type. If we have a single fraction equals a single fraction, our main procedure to get started is to cross multiply, and then we'll solve. I'll be moving pretty quickly through this video, so please pause it all the way through every time you need to so that you can stay caught up. First problem. Notice this is a single fraction equals a single fraction. All we need to do is cross multiply. So we've got 4 times x squared minus 1 and 12 times 3x plus 3. It doesn't matter which side these two things are on, as long as you've cross multiplied. Distribute the 4, distribute the 12. Then I got all terms to the left side and set it equal to 0. I look for a greatest common factor, and I factored out a 4. Remembering I'm not going at a pace that we would normally go in class where you're writing it down with me, so please pause it continually throughout the video so that you can stay caught up. Then I factor the trinomial, two numbers that multiply to give me negative 10, but add up to negative 9 are negative 10 and 1. I set both of these quantities separately equal to 0, and that gives me 10 and negative 1. To check for extraneous solutions, I plug 10 and negative 1 back into the original equation. So I'm going to check my answers now. You'll see here that when I plug 10 in, I get 4 over 33, and that's set equal to 12 over 99. Is it the same thing? Yeah, you can either check by putting both fractions into your calculator and comparing the decimals, or you can see that this fraction on the right side is just this first fraction multiplied by 3 over 3. So 10 does work. Check. When I plug in negative 1, I get 0 in the denominators. We can't divide by 0. Enough said. X does not equal negative 1. That is an extraneous solution. Now I'm going to move right ahead to type 2. And I'm going to say it one more time. Please make sure you're pausing as we go because I'm not really giving you time to write things down during the video. I'm actually just trying to keep the video size as small as possible. Type 2, we've got a sum or difference on one side. Our procedure is going to be to multiply both sides by your least common denominator to clear the fractions. You've already done that in this class with simpler fractions. So I'm going to start with one of those and then move on to the ones that are really considered like rational equation problems. Problem 2. 3 over x plus 4 equals negative 4/5. The least common denominator between x and 5 is 5x. We are not going to get common denominators and add things or subtract things like we did in the last lesson. We're going to multiply both sides by that least common denominator. This is like a 5x over 1 on both sides. So I have a separate paper that I'm going to pull out to do some work sort of live for us. Let's see, here we go. Okay, so when you distribute into here, you're actually going to divide before you multiply. So x and x, those are gone, simplifies to 1. 5 times 3 is 15. Now 5x times 4, nothing simplifies because there's no denominator, and that would just be 20x. Over here, the 5 and the 5, those are gone. So you have negative 4x. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my other paper. Okay, so there is that 5 plus 20x equals negative 4x. You're going to subtract 20x on both sides so that it goes over to the right side. You get negative 24x, divide, and simplify. Okay, moving right along. Okay, problem 3. Here we've got a similar type of problem, and our least common denominator is just x. So we multiply both sides by x, and let me bring up my scratch paper here. Okay, so distribute. X times x, that's x squared. Into the second fraction, that's gone with that. We just have 9. And then over here, just a negative 6x. Pretty simple, right? Okay, let me go back to the notes. If I can find them here, just a second. Okay, so there is my x squared plus 9 equals negative 6x. Get this back into focus. Get everything on the left side, set it equal to 0, and then you can factor. That would be x plus 3 times x plus 3, or x plus 3 squared, set equal to 0, because the two numbers that multiply to give you 9 but add up to 6 are 3 and 3. So this part set equal to 0, that would just be negative 3. It's our only answer. You don't need to worry about checking for an extraneous solution. Problem number 4. Now you'll notice that we have these two different denominators, x plus 4 and x squared plus 4x. So factor this denominator here. You'll notice this part is the same as this part. The least common denominator, well, these are already the same, right? So you really just need x and x plus 4. Multiply both sides by that. And notice once again that this, it's like it's over 1. Over 1. You are not multiplying it, you're not multiplying it over itself like we did when we were adding and subtracting rational expressions. You're just putting it over 1. Okay, so now let me get my scratch paper out again. Okay, here it is. So when I take this times 2, there's nothing to cancel out because there's only a 1 in the bottom. So you just have 2x times x plus 4. We'll multiply that out in a little bit. Then over here you can see that you can divide this. That's gone. We can use our slang word of canceling there. Okay, so you get 3x left. There's the 3 and the x. Don't forget your minus sign. Equals. Then over here, gone, gone, and you just have 12. Okay, so back to the problem. Okay, there's what we just got. Distribute the 2, combine like terms, and also move the 12 over. I know I'm going quickly, but I've already told you you can pause at any time. Then I factor this. I check my inside and outside parts of FOIL. Negative 3x, positive 8x does add up to 5x. Notice the first part of FOIL gets me 2x squared. The last part of FOIL gives me negative 12. So I started with thinking of numbers that multiply to give me 2. Got it. Numbers that multiply to give me 12. Negative 12. Got it. Okay, both of those are separately set equal to 0 and solved. When I check my answers, I'm going to use 1.5 for this fraction because it's easier. So I come down here, and of course I'm not leaving you time to write all this down because you can pause it. And I put the 1.5 in. That's my approximate decimals for both. It's the same. Yay, x equals 1.5 as an answer. If I plug in negative 4, let's get this focused here. You have an issue. Right away on the left side, I realize I have a 0 with negative 4 plus 4. Over here, I'd have the same situation. I need not go any further. That is not an answer. Negative 4 is not. X equals 1.5 is the only answer. All right, let's move along to the last problem. Number 5. You can see that I've got fractions for all the terms now, and the only one that can be factored is the one over here, so I factor it. Oh, look, what a surprise. It matches. So the least common denominator is going to be the product of all these different ones here, which would just be x minus 3 and x minus 1. So I multiply both sides by that, and going back to my scratch paper. When I do that, okay, so I take both of these into the first one, and here, that one cancels out. So I'm left with 2x times x minus 3. And then when I take these over here, of course this one's not permanently crossed out, he comes back alive. The x minus 3's are going to be gone, slash, slash. So I've got x minus 1 times the 1, so that's just plus x minus 1. And then over here, that's your big cancel party, right? Everything, and you're just left with 2. So now let me transfer back to the nice notes. Okay, so now you have it equal to 2, distribute the 2x, move the 2 that's over here to the left side. That's where that -3 comes from. Combine like terms, factor. Okay, so numbers that multiply to give me -3 right there, numbers that multiply to give me 2 right there, and then my insides are 1 and -6, which add up to -5x, set them both equal to 0, and solve. Now by now you realize the extraneous solutions are the ones that just, they get you 0 in the denominator. So I just do a quick look for that. Hey, if I plug in 3 right there in my original problem, there it was, 3 minus 3, that is a problem. That's going to give me 0. So you know what? That's all I do to check. I say, hey, x cannot equal 3, which means it's got to be the other one, and I'm done. That's it for notes. Of course, you've got the problems on Delta Math that go with this.